If you're a freight broker requesting shipment for cargo, you'll need to provide the carrier with the detailed information about the items you intend to ship with that company. You have to work out an agreed freight rate for shipping those items. Hi, my name is Kyle, and I'm an operations manager with Interstate Transport Service and founder of iKyle Logistic Partners. In this video, I'll be talking about the paperwork process, which includes the RateCon, load sheets, bill of lading, and the POD. I'll also explain how they're used and why you as a carrier have to have them. So, stay tuned. Providing this information and starting negotiations is called tendering a load, which can save you headaches down the road when it comes to settling claims about lost or damaged items. Tendering is synonymously used with the word rate confirmation when in fact they are not the same. Tendering has to do with providing enough information for the carrier to make a bid in which the broker or the shipper provides all the necessary details about the load, who will submit that information to multiple carriers. Once the carrier reviews the offer, they can do one of the three following things. They can accept the offer, reject the offer, or bid the offer. So in other words, tendering is the process of making a load offer, getting all the details, and making it available to carriers in hopes to get the lowest response bid. If a load is not tendered, it's listed, where you have limited information. For an example, on a load board, you will find origin, destination, the weight, and a contact number and the name of the broker. This is not a full tender. You as a carrier have to pick up the phone, call the broker to get additional information like dock times, addresses, names, numbers, and what is the commodity you'll be hauling, etc. Once the broker has an interested carrier, they will begin to assemble all the necessary load information the carrier is going to need in order to haul the load. The bottom line, no matter how you get the load, whether it's by tendered offer or listed on a load board, it all boils down to a RateCon, which stands for rate confirmation. The rate confirmation is the contract signed by both the broker and the carrier at an agreed rate for the carrier to provide the service. Again, what am I saying? Excuse me. What am I saying? Loads found on a load board can either be just a load opportunity where you have to call the broker to get the details, or a tender load that does include all the details necessary to accept, reject, or bid. Technically, they are two different processes or methods used to reach the goal. At the end of the day, the fine line difference between a listed load and a tendered load really doesn't matter for dry van freight, because you're normally hauling general freight and the price is based on a pickup point A to a drop-off point B, as long as you were awarded the rate confirmation. When you get into more specialized freight, such as perishable foods, loads that require permits like oversized and third-party pilot cars that required loads, you have more factors to consider, like reefer fuel, permit fees, lumper fees, pilot fees, loading and unloading times at various facilities. Even loads listed on a load board become tenders after you get the details from the broker. Before the internet, this was a process known as tendering a load. Today, with the internet, some older companies still use the term tendering a load when I simply use the word load offers, to cover both. None of this matters as long as you get the detail that you need as a carrier in order to negotiate a freight rate that ultimately becomes a rate confirmation, which an agreement contract between the broker and the carrier. The reason I say this, there's nothing stopping you for placing a bid on either one. Load tenders are expected to get a bid. Sometimes listed loads have a monetary offer beside it. So what you need to do is make sure you have all the technical details of the load. Then open your mouth and place a higher bid on top of their offer so you can negotiate a higher rate. Side note, you have to have a valid reason that makes sense why you're asking for more money. The goal for the carrier is to come to an agreement can get from the broker by working smarter, not harder, like getting paid more money and driving less miles. From here, you as a carrier will book the load, then the broker will use a contract known as a RateCon, aka rate confirmation. This rate confirmation is agreement of pay between the freight broker and the carrier, which has to be signed by both parties before proceeding. Next, the dispatcher and or driver will get the load information sheet. This sheet contains all the information about the origin and the destination, address, the type of freight, the weight, the pickup and delivery confirmation numbers, as well as the pickup and delivery appointment times. Once a driver gets to the pickup location, he or she will check in with the shipping manager or clerk, Then the driver will get assigned a dock door. Once the load is on the truck, the driver will be given the necessary paperwork known as a BOL, which stands for Bill of Lading. Why is this important? A Bill of Lading is an important document with significant legal consequences. The Interstate Commerce Act, the ICA, requires motor carriers to issue a receipt or bill of lading for property received for transportation under Article 49 USC subsection 14706. Now here's the deal. Every shipper may not be equipped with bill of ladings. This means that the carrier is responsible for generating a bill of lading. This is why we carry blank manual bill of ladings, just in case we come across a shipper that doesn't issue bill of ladings. You will normally find this with shippers that ship merchandise infrequently. Okay, so now you're loaded, headed down the road, and DOT police officer pulls you over. They may ask the following questions. Are you loaded? Where are you coming from? Where are you going? And of course, they'll ask you about your hours of service logs. We can talk about driver logs and hours of service in another video. DOT is going to review your logs to see if your hours of service match the city and the state on the BOL. What they are looking for is the accuracy of your logs. As an example, let's say you had a load that picked up in Baltimore, Maryland on Monday at 10 a.m. and you now get pulled over by DOT in Gaffney, South Carolina on Monday at 2 p.m. That would mean you falsified your logs. DOT can shut you down for falsifying your logs. This will go on record, reason being your logs are inaccurate. Baltimore, Maryland to Gaffney, South Carolina is about 490 miles. There is no way possible that you traveled from Baltimore at 10 a.m. and got to Gaffney by 2 p.m. That's only 4 hours, when DOT knows the distance of travel takes at least 7.5 hours at the legal speed limit. Whereas your log data says you would have had to average over 125 miles per hour for the last 4 hours of drive time. If the officer is being a jerk, he may say something like, so your option is, do you want the speeding ticket or be placed out of service? Sometimes you may get an officer that'll work with you and say something like, your logs are not accurate. I'm going to give you a moment to fix that, and I'll take another look when you finish. So real quick, let's recap this video. We talked about the RateCon, also known as the Rate Confirmation, which is the agreement between the carrier and the broker. The load information sheet, the pickup and ship address, which also contains all the details of the load, such as the weight of the load, appointment times, etc. We talked about the BOL, aka Bill of Lading, you get from the shipper, which is required by law for commercial carriers. That BOL is used by DOT as well as any first responders if any catastrophic incidents occur in transit. So leaves us, last but not least, the POD, which is also known as the proof of delivery. A POD is when the receiver unloads your truck and lists any OS&D, which stands for overages, shortages, or damages. They will take the bill of lading and make any necessary notes, then sign and date the BOL, which becomes the POD, aka proof of delivery. The next step is to get paid. The two methods to get paid is either you're going to directly invoice the broker or you will submit to a factoring company. In either case, that invoice has to be accompanied by both the RateCon and the POD, which is the signed bill of lading. Okay, so that concludes this video. So if you like the content, don't be shy and hit the button. If you want to see any future content, please hit the subscribe button so you'll be notified when any new content is available. Until next time, thank you and stay safe.